Hi, I'm James Rhee, and I'm the globalist who believes in the power of kindness and math. And in the moment, I didn't really understand why they were giving it to me. I just remember sensing that they were happy and sad.
잔잔한 에세이를 꼭 듣는 것 같았어요, 오늘.
우리가 입고 가는 선의, 다정함, kindness, 그리고 정말 trust 이런 가치관을 얼마나 우리가 중요하게 여기지 못했는가.
That I wrote the book is actually a piece of music. For many of us, my life, the years just pass at a dizzying pace, and I think later that I had my aha moment.
Welcome to the Globalists, James.
I'm thrilled to be here. Yeah, thank you so much.
Let's start off with your book, the best-selling book, The Red Helicopter. I know it's just been translated into Korean, and you have now a new Korean audience. But for those who have not had the privilege of reading your book yet, tell us what it's about.
Well, I think it's a parable for our times. It's a story about humanity. But the way I'm telling it is through the lens of my mother, my father, both of whom immigrated from Korea. It's about a group of Black women who unexpectedly befriended me and whose essence reminded me an awful lot of the essence of my mother. And it was a young man trying to reconcile traditional measurements of success with financial measurements of success and his Korean and American identity. And somehow, by telling the stories of all these people, what emerged was the essence of what perhaps humanity really means. And that is what the story is. I tried to compose the book like a folk song.
Yeah.
And I think that's what great folk songs do, that there's no specific narrative. It's a narrative about everyone.
Yeah. But it is based on your life, on a very interesting and unique life that you've led as a Korean American, as an entrepreneur. But let's start with the title, Red Helicopter. People think of that as, is it a novel? Is it a business book? What does the Red Helicopter mean?
Well, Red Helicopter is based on a story of mine. I was 5 years old, 1976, and I'd come home from school with a toy red helicopter. And then it's a series of seemingly wrongdoings. So first my parents thought I had stolen it from school. And then they thought, oh, we didn't know in Christmas time Americans exchange gifts at kindergarten. And then it was also a story of generational parenting where my father was actually annoyed with me that I didn't know why that I had gotten this toy from a family. They later learned I'd been sharing half my lunch with this boy who didn't have lunch. I didn't know his mother had died. And so when my father explained this to me, I just had this feeling in my chest. I said, wow, I didn't expect a reward. And I know that my father, who, it was not easy for my parents, he got very emotional and he just said, I looked at him, and now as a father of three now, I'm sure what he was thinking was like, wow, my 5-year-old son has so much courage and he lives with such abundance.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, his heart must have been bursting with joy or pride. I don't know, a little bit of both, I think. But so you take the red helicopter as in that one episode, and you use that as sort of the theme throughout your life. How does that work?
Well, on the one hand, it was a moment when I had courage in the face of adversity, and that I relied on intuitive wisdom versus a series of accumulated knowledge that you learn in school and people tell you to learn. There's a big difference between wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
Children are wiser, I find, and that's one thing. It's the person that I wanted to be. That this person who had such abundance would want to share his lunch and say to his friend, we'll make 10 sandwiches together. There's not just one. And the older I got, I felt like I was drowning in more scarcity mindset. That's the irony. So that's number one. And number two, it's also mental models where we are taught to be that success is oftentimes an airplane. So fly fast, fly high. It's okay to perhaps be a passenger in someone else's airplane. And what I'm explaining to people, particularly now, that helicopters, even though they don't fly as high or as fast, they're much more agile, right? It forces you to fly your own helicopter. You can move in 6 different directions. And I think that's a better mental model for anyone, but particularly during times of systems disruption. You have to be able to think out of the box and move in 6 different directions.
Yeah. Well, that is what a helicopter does. But I think coming from you, it's much more rings true because you applied it to a company called Ashley Stewart.
Yes.
Your face already lights up when I mention Ashley Stewart.
Yeah, it's what could have been the most difficult part of my life was the best part of my life in many ways professionally. Ashley Stewart, on its surface, it was a twice-bankrupt failed business selling apparel to Black women, sizes 12 and up, in urban neighborhoods across the United States. That's the surface. Like when you dug deeper, historically, it arguably was the largest business in revenues serving and employing Black women in the United States of America. And it was doing more than selling clothes. It was a place where these women, much like my mom, they could just come in and just be. They had so many obligations. They over-indexed single motherhood. I was like, has nothing to do about clothes. This was a place where they could actually close the door on the harshness of the world and just be. And I thought it was beautiful.
So tell us about that first time you walked into an Ashley Stewart store. You, fashionable as you are, but you're a Korean American, a male. So when you walk into an Ashley Stewart store for the first time, what did you see?
I think you're being very generous. I'm not fashionable. I did my best today.
But I think Ashley Stewart had an effect on you.
She did, right? So I was wearing khakis and a blue blazer. Picture the private equity uniform of Boston. That's what I was wearing. I'm a man. I have this Asian face. So I walked in, and it's like when the record player stops, all these faces are looking at me, and they're saying,
what is this guy
doing in here? And picture that after even I announced that I was going to be the interim CEO of the business. And they had every right to laugh or to even be unfriendly. But there was something that, it happened in store after store across the United States. There was something about the feeling of it. They really embraced me. They just said, we can feel your heart. Like, we trust you. Like, you have so much soul. That's what they used to say to me. And finally, just let the potential of this business and, by corollary, them emerge. And I think that can help be a good part of that. I'm like, would you let me, this is Born to Run, do you want to get in the car? Do you want to drive? And they said, yeah, let's go.
I mean, you make it sound like it was like like a born to run, but it was a very tough process. I mean, it's painful when you read the book.
It was painful. I had built as a son of immigrants, all the credentials were gone. I walked away from everything. Yeah, and it was not a great feeling when all my friends, many of whom manage lots of money and are sort of corporate titans, it didn't feel great when you get laughed at and when they tell you no.
And they laughed at you?
Of course they did. They really did. And they were like, James, what are you doing? Are you a good leader as an Asian person? Do Asian people lead? Could Asian people possibly be friendly with millions of black women? Is this possible? We don't understand what you're saying. And so they all said no. And that didn't feel great. And I've used in some contexts, the word was a bit humiliating actually, when you're going there groveling for money, when you're usually in a position of investing the money.
Yeah. Signing the checks.
Yeah, it was not a great feeling, but in the retrospect, like most things, it humbled me.
Yeah.
And that's good.
So, but humbleness is not money. How did you turn it around?
I built an entire, really designed a new system. Insurance, it's boring. No one wants to talk about insurance. But in reality, insurance, it's where kindness and math meet. Insurance is you pay a premium based on how your group of people behave.
Okay.
Right? If you behave badly, your insurance costs are really high. If you behave really well together, like mutualism, your insurance costs are low. This company was almost uninsurable because there was a lot of bad behavior, a lot of risk. And so I studied this and I said, why are the women getting hurt so much? There were so many injuries, emotional, mental, but also physical. And I noticed that a lot of women were falling down off of ladders because they were trying to change the light bulb because the light bulbs were cheap.
Yeah.
And so I said, that's not acceptable. Like you can't, as long as I'm here, you can't get hurt. So I invested a lot of money in buying the best light bulbs in the industry so that no one had the reason to get up on a ladder. And so the injuries went way down, and I explained this to the women, and they said, we knew you really care about us. And I'm like, yeah, I do care about you. I don't want you to get hurt. You have a family. And then what happens, just that simple heuristic, the light bulb became a symbol of not just care, but it's operational excellence, right? So from there, now it's brighter.
Yep.
The clothes look better. More customers come. They buy more clothes. Sales go up. Bonuses go up. Everyone's happy.
Insurance premium goes down.
All the insurance premium goes down. And then as the insurance premium came down, I then explained to everyone again, I said, this profit from the lower insurance, it's all of ours. And I paid out their bonuses, explaining that we could pay bonuses this year because we collectively behaved well. And that is, insurance is the essence of collective good, mutualistic behavior. Kind organizations that are mathematically wise, like they build operations that bridge these two seemingly orthogonal things. That's what great orgs do.
The way you explain it, kindness is not just a virtue, being kind to people. It actually makes sense and leads to money and leads to profitability. Now, you've helped not just Ashley Stewart, but a lot of other companies after that.
Yes.
Have you found this methodology or approach to be successful in other companies, other types of companies too?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did this a lot even before Ashley Stewart, right? As an investor, and I played like shadow CEO more times. So yeah, I've been applying this philosophy or operating system in the classrooms. Where I'm teaching at MIT and Duke and Howard University, and that curriculum is spreading. I applied this to working with a CEO of a senior living business that was struggling. And so we put the entire operating system in place. And again, we defined it. We said, I know you want to make money. Money is okay. But don't forget, your main product is care. If you don't care, you will lose. And so that sounds like obvious, but it's not, to people. So we really had to pause and say, what does care mean? And so one of the things we did is that some of his employees, they were not eating well because the economy is very difficult everywhere. And so they were eating not nutritious foods. But this business, one of its core competencies, it feeds its senior residents 3 meals a day. So we were like, why can't you feed one nutritious meal to every employee for free as part of their compensation? So just like the light bulb, he delivered a message and said, listen, I know we're not the biggest company. I know money's tight for all of us. I can at least make sure you can eat. And the reception was just, right? It's just a human need. And the results, that's not the only reason, but that's one of the reasons the walls came down. And then they started giving feedback that they were scared to give on practices they knew could be better at the facilities. The dramatic nature of it's crazy what happened financially, right?
I mean, it's a great example of how people lose sight of why they're there because they focus too much on just one side of it. It's not like they don't care, but it's just they just lose focus.
Yes.
Maybe. Well, and it's a good reminder.
Invited to a forum for 3,000 young students. One of the lead singers of Le Seraphim, like He Yun-jin, she wanted to join me on stage to tell the young people in Korea to read the book. You're okay. 잘했다. You did good. Everyone needs a voice that says, you're okay.